as you can see, I'm back with another video, and in today's video, as you can see, we are in fact doing another top 10 video. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the top 10 defenders of all time. And again, this is not my list. I will be giving my list after we go through a, sports writers list and talk about it, critique it, and then I will probably give my own opinion on stuff. I think I am going to do like top 10 offensive players, top 10 three-point shooters, top 10 this, top 10 that. I think that'd be kind of cool to do, just continuing on the sort of top 10 series we have going on my channel that I hope that you love. And if you do love it, make sure to show some support, slap a like on the video, and also subscribe to the channel. If you are new, I think we're almost to 6,500 subscribers. Wow. Thank you guys so much for that. But anyways, let's jump right into tonight's video. Okay guys, this is a list from, I think, Fadeaway World, I think is what it's called. And they are ranking their own top 10 greatest NBA defenders of all time. So, I guess we can just jump right into number 10 on this list. And this one is already pretty arguable, in my opinion. I already saw it, but at number 10, they have listed the glove himself, Gary Payton. Gary Payton at number 10. I don't know about that. Some career highlights for Gary Payton: a Defensive Player of the Year winner in 1996, 9-time All-NBA Defensive Team member, and an All-NBA steals leader in the league, also in 1996. Wow. It's so crazy that he would even be number 10. He obviously deserves to be on the list. But people talk about Gary Payton as being, the best perimeter defender in NBA history. And, obviously, there's Jordan. People talk about Jordan a lot, Scottie Pippen a lot. Even Kawhi Leonard gets a sort of nod at that sort of great two-way player that can defend anyone at any time. But people always throw in Gary Payton's name for being known as the greatest perimeter player of all time, and, well, defensively that is. But they have him listed at 10, which, again, I'm going to be giving my own opinion, probably my own list after we talk about this, but I don't think I really agree with this one. Obviously with the Supersonics having a really good team throughout those sort of mid-90s, obviously, going up against, you guessed it, Michael Jordan, Chicago Bulls, and coming up short, so obviously no one really had that sort of talent to sort of match up against them. And, you had Gary Payton, guarding Michael Jordan, and sure, was very important. Obviously being on that Boston Celtics big three, but dude was literally an MVP of the league, was arguably the best player in the NBA at a certain point in time. Defensive Player of the Year winner, obviously. Just the nastiest trash talker in it, probably NBA history. This man would talk about your mom, your wife, your this, your that, like he wouldn't care, no filter whatsoever. And I think in my opinion that also kind of makes a case for being, you know, a top defender all the time. It's just the way he would psychologically get in your mind. And he didn't care if it was, you know, literally, you know, a bench player or Kobe Bryant himself. He would talk trash to anyone, which is really cool to see. But, you know, I think I obviously do agree he should be on this list. Number 9, is that low enough? I need to see the rest of the list, I guess. At number 8, a very forgotten player as well. At number 8, we have here Dwight Howard. Yes, the Magic, Dwight Howard. And in case you forgot, I forget sometimes, he is a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year winner. Not only a 3-time winner, a back-to-back winner from 2009 to 2011. That's so crazy. 4-time All-Defensive First Team member, 5-time. And at one-time All-Defensive Second Team member, 5-time rebounding leader in the NBA, and a 2-time leader in blocks as well. So, man, that is so crazy. Like, I don't know. Obviously, Dwight Howard in that little small span of time was such a great player. Like, he was, you know, looking like he was trying to go down as one of the greatest centers of all time. Like, he was already a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year winner. Took his team to the NBA Finals, multiple-time All-Star. Like, this dude looked like he was going to be, you know, one of those guys. But obviously with injuries and bad luck and bad fit on teams, it just didn't. And also the change of the NBA game, obviously with the more outside game, outside shooting, things like that, Dwight Howard just never sort of transitioned into that type of game. So, man, I don't know if just because Kevin Garnett had a longer span of that time makes him like higher up in ranking, or the small pocket of, you know, give or take 5 or 6 years, Dwight Howard was so dominant on defense and on offense, just one of the best players in the NBA, obviously. Is that more important? That's a good question. I have no idea. But, yo, man, if you're good enough to win an award 3 times in a row, like MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, this or that, like, that is a special type of talent. Oh, man, that's going to be tough to think about. I like his listing. I do think he probably should deserve to be on here, but again, it was only, you know, a span from like 2008 to like 2012-ish, where he was like really super good. And after that, obviously we all know he sort of fell off, which is kind of weird. At number 7, though, we have another crazy defensive player. Big Ben Wallace. Wow, number 7. Ben Wallace was a Defensive Player of the Year winner in 2002, 2003, 2005, and 2006. He won Defensive Player of the Year back-to-back 2 times. That is just insane. All-NBA First Team for defense 5 times. All-NBA Second Team once. And a 2-time rebounding leader and a blocks leader in 2002. I actually had no idea he actually was like a blocking center, obviously being, you know, only about 6'8", 6'9". Obviously back then, centers were, you know, those 7'1" type centers, like those big Shaq, Yao Ming, huge types of centers in the NBA. I'm surprised he actually held his own a lot, which he did, obviously, being a rebounding leader and a blocks leader. You gotta have a lot of heart and passion for that, and that was his bread and butter. Sure, he would only give you 6, 8 points per game, but he would go out there and give, you know, 15 rebounds, about 3 or 4 blocks, a couple steals, and just bring that energy see that in a lot of teams in today's NBA with some players, especially, championship teams over time. Just that one crazy guy who will just give his all for the team. And I think obviously with Ben Wallace being that guy, but also being super effective, that's just a win-win, I guess you could say. But wow, that's so crazy. At least in my opinion, I think his height would sway my opinion, because again, if you do, stack up these guys to other all-time great centers and all-time great players, I think that would matter. But still a great player, and I honestly do think he deserves to be on this list. Oh my God. I mean, it makes sense because he's such a good defensive player, but I don't know. At number 6, they have Dikembe. Mutombo. Wow. He is a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year winner, 3-time All-Defensive Team, First Team, 3-time Second Team, 2-time Rebounding Leader, and 3-time Blocks Leader in the NBA. Holy cow, that is crazy. I was only really surprised about Dikembe because it's again like one of those names where he wasn't anything super duper special. I mean, he was a really good player, was on a couple really good teams, but he just never really amounted to anything. Obviously not really having that crazy offensive game to match his crazy defensive capability, but I don't know. I just need to keep remembering that it's not a player ranking, it's defensively. How good were they? And obviously Dikembe, 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, 3-time led the league in blocks, in a time where, the NBA was ruled by centers. It was in the mid-90s, so, you had Ewing, Shaq was around still, Hakeem Olajuwon, like those real NBA centers were there, and he looked like he was doing really well for himself, so I like him on the list. It's just one of those things where, again, it looks like it was a span for a couple years. Oh, actually, he won Defensive Player of the Year in his first one was 95, and his last one was 2001. That's so crazy to think about. Wow. That's awesome. I mean, Dikembe obviously not really being a scorer again, but being a great defensive player. Number 5, though, finally, another perimeter player. We have Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen at number 5, top 5 all time. I'll take that. Scottie being a 8-time member of the NBA defensive team, First Team, all the way from 92 straight, all the way 8 years straight to 99, and all defensive team for the Second Team in 91 and 2000, led the league in steals in 1995. It says here, Pippen would likely, I was just thinking, that's why I paused, Pippen would likely won an NBA Defensive Player of the Year if shot blocking wasn't so popular during the 90s. I 1000% agree with that. Obviously today, they talk about players like Kawhi, Ben Simmons, even Giannis to a point. Not crazy shot blockers. Obviously Giannis can be. Even Ben Simmons is pretty good at it as well. But, Kawhi and those type of players really get a lot of nods for being great defensive players, because perimeter play is so much more important in today's NBA than it was in the 90s. If that type of play was playing now, I think Scottie Pippen would be like a 3 or 4-time defensive player of the team ever, because he would literally humiliate and completely shut down the opposing team's best players, like super good players. And Scottie would just, easily defend those type of guys, especially being, that 6'8" frame. Like, that's so crazy. Oh man. That is another thing where, do you take, the importance of perimeter play and even his own star power into account, or, does, Mutombo being a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year member rank higher? And, I mean, if we're going just based off of defense, I don't know, that's super tough, because again, it's a different era. I mean, undersized big man is the question. I think he's great. I think he's a great rebounder and everything like that. But again, I didn't grow up in the 90s. I was born in the 90s. I didn't grow up in the 90s. I don't really remember recalling Dennis Rodman like locking down defensively players. Obviously, a great rebounder. He was a very smart player, high IQ on that defensive end, but I don't really remember him being like that guy for teams. You know what I mean? So, that's interesting. I think he's good. I kind of forgot when I was thinking about doing this video. But that's interesting. That might be a very arguable one, at least in my opinion. Great player though, but again, I don't really remember him being that defender for the Bulls at least. Number 2, I 1000% agree with this, is Hakeem Olajuwon. That is a easy name. 2-time Defensive Player of the Year winner, 5-time All Defensive Team First Team, 4-time Second Team, 2 times led the league in rebounding, and a 3-time blocks leader as well. Wow. Obviously, we were just talking about, Dikembe Mutombo winning all these Defensive Player of the Year awards, this and that. I mean, obviously, Hakeem was probably, in my opinion, just as good as a defender as Dikembe Mutombo, but I think giving a lot of his energy on both ends of the floor maybe would hinder him being even better of a defender, I guess you could say. Probably taking plays off and things like that. He probably did a lot of that, but also just being such a long, lengthy, IQ off the charts type of player. Of course, he's going to be a great defender. And again, he was, locking down, all the big time centers in that era of 90s basketball for centers. So, I don't know. I just feel like Hakeem is just such a good all-around player, and his defense really shined, which is really cool. I think a lot of people obviously remember Hakeem for, his post work, his offensive game, his this and that, but I think defensively is something that a lot of people forget about how just great of a defender he was. I think he could arguably even be number 1, just being his length and his high IQ. Dude could probably lock down any center in NBA history. Like, that's how crazy of a defender he was. But at number 1, this is kind of a gimme, and I don't know if I really agree with this, but at number 1, obviously, they have Bill Russell, which, again, I think they are valuing rebounding a little bit too much when it comes to defense. Again, Enes Kanter had like a 30 rebound game this year. Not a great defender. A lot of guards in today's NBA have a lot of high rebounding games. I don't necessarily think rebounding is such a high thing to sort of rate a defender. But Bill Russell, obviously, back then they didn't record Defensive Player of the Year winners, defensive team members. I don't even think they really recorded blocks back then all that much. So, if they did, it would just be more accolades to add on into Bill Russell's big pot of rewards and accolades and things like that. But again, even when I talk about like my GOATs, I already have a video on my channel of me talking about my GOATs of the NBA. I do take into account the talent they played against, and obviously when you take Hakeem Olajuwon going up against the 90s dominant centers and guards in competition versus the 1950s and 60s of the NBA, where Joe Schmo, the milkman, would on the weekends play NBA basketball. It's different, you know what I mean? It's just a different feel of vibe and everything like that. But I do value obviously Bill Russell being a great player and this and that, high IQ, yada yada yada. We all know who Bill Russell is, but I will take into account that the talent and also the stats. Who knows what Bill Russell even did? He probably averaged like 17 blocks a game or something like that. So, great player. I just don't know if I'd rank him number 1. But that's their list. So they have Russell, Hakeem, Rodman, Jordan, Scottie a defensive player of the year winner. I think he could go down as one of the greatest defenders of all time just because of his how he is, like how he's built. He has that capability. Rudy Gobert could be on the list as well. Even Tyson Chandler, Joakim Noah, Kobe Bryant could even be on this list for sure for perimeter play. Kawhi Leonard as well. Who else? Maybe like Tim Duncan. I think Tim Duncan would be a pretty good name. Yeah, those are some pretty good names. But for me, I think I am gonna go Hakeem 1. I'll go Hakeem 1. And just for the sake of like Bill Russell being Bill Russell, I guess I'll put him 2, but I don't know, man. Maybe I won't. I might put Jordan 2, because again, and that's just me not ranking them based off of who they are. I mean, you do have to take into the fact that they put so much effort into their offensive game. It's crazy how great of defenders they were. So, and again, carrying their own respective franchises. I think I have to put Hakeem 1, Jordan 2. I'll put Bill Russell 3, just because again, it's Bill Russell. I mean, of course, he dominated the NBA back then. I will do. I think I might do Dikembe Mutombo 4. Dude, he's a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, led the league in blocks for 3 years straight. And that was his bread and butter. Like, he was just a lockdown defender against the greatest era of center basketball. I think I have to put Dikembe 4, maybe. Then I'll do Scottie 5. I think Scottie at 5 is good, top 5 defender. I think that makes sense. Then I'll put Ben Wallace. Dude was a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year winner. And again, like Dikembe, that was his bread and butter, being a defender. But him being a shorter defender, in my opinion, and I'm sorry, this is some stupid thing to say, but him being shorter, even though it didn't enter him in real life, in my mind, I would rather have, imagine if Ben Wallace was a 6'10", 6'11" center. Like, that would be super OP. That would be unfair, but his size, came with advantages, but also disadvantages, I guess you would say. And then I would go Dwight. Oh, when I go KG and then Dwight, I'll go Dwight. Dwight was even it was just a little span of like 5-6 years. Those 5-6 years, he was absolutely dominant. Definitely the best defender in the NBA at that time. Best center in the NBA at that time. I'll say Dwight, KG, and then I'll go Gary Payton 10. Actually, 9-time. What was Kevin Garnett? Oh my God, they're like the same, dude. They're like literally the same. You know what? I'll say Gary Payton 9, KG 10. How about that? Put some spice out there. It's just so. I mean, obviously, if I'm picking players like specialities, if I need a point guard for defense, I'm picking Gary Payton. And if I just need a perimeter player to even play defense, me and maybe some other people would argue Gary Payton being the best perimeter defender, because obviously Jordan's great at it, and so is Scottie. But again, like his bread and butter, Gary Payton was defense. So maybe I will put Gary Payton 9, and then KG 10, because KG was good, but also a great offensive player. But I think that's gonna be it for me. I'll stop blabbling on, but that's really cool. That was a really fun idea. I think I will be doing a offensive players one, a 3-point shooting players one. That'd be kind of fun to do. So yeah, guys, that's it for me. I hope you have a really good day or night or whenever you're watching this video. Make sure to obviously like the video if you like the video and subscribe.